Today marks my final day on the job. I'm wrapping up my service as a crew member on a tourist sleeper train. It's because I've hit retirement age at 60. There were tough times after joining this company right out of junior high, but before I knew it, I had put in the years all the way to 60. I want to give myself some credit for that. Sorry to keep you waiting, Catherine. The one relaxing in the guest room is Catherine, the owner of a long-standing inn. I bring her some Earl Grey as a welcome drink. It's part of the job. I've included fresh lemons and delicious milk from the big mountains, taking care to allow her the choice depending on her mood. Oh, thank you as always. She looks over with her back straight, dressed nicely. Her every move is nothing special, but her grace befits the owner of a historic inn. It's not just her features that are beautiful. There's a sort of dignity about her, something that can't be chalked up to mere appearance. One couldn't carry a nice dress like that without it. It seems her mood today is for lemony. She squeezes a lemon and cleans her fingers with a napkin. If you'll excuse me. As usual, I bow politely and leave the guest room. Having regulars like Catherine certainly lifts the spirits. But the thought that today is the last time fills me with sadness. I gaze out at the scenery of the mountains in the train window, trying to imprint it in my memory. A rush of emotions wells up, and my vision blurs with tears. No, I mustn't. I'm still on duty. I straighten up and continue down the corridor. It was tough to walk through a moving train when I started, but I've spent more time here than in my own room, and now I could do it with my eyes closed. I make my way to the next guest room, familiar with every inch of these carriages. Excuse me. Ah, it's you. The sight of me makes him twist his face and sigh. He's Bob. He was the former head of this sleeper train. This is the first time I've seen him since he retired and became a pensioner last year. Looking closely, behind him are his wife, Susan, and their 2 daughters of age. What a way to ruin a birthday trip. Having a high school dropout like Alex in charge makes even the good food taste bad. Bob's contempt hasn't changed at all since the old days. To think he'd treat me this way even after becoming a customer and retiring. What a piece of work. I almost let out a sigh, but I hold it in when Susan stands up and comes over. Hey, cut it out with the rude comments. Sorry about this, Alex. Even with Susan's admonishment, Bob's expression remains unchanged. It's disheartening, but he's a customer now. I must treat him with respect. Bob, I've brought you Earl Grey, if you'd like to have it. Bob turns away, refusing to take it, so Susan takes it with an apologetic look. I'm really sorry. Well, I'll be on my way then. What a misfortune to have Bob as a passenger on my last day of work. As I was closing the door, he said out loud just to taunt me, "It's sad that a high school dropout like you ends up just a regular worker until retirement, unlike me." I'm taken aback by his words. Did he come on this train today just to harass me on my last day of work? The thought makes my anger grow. He has done customer service before, so he should know how it feels to be treated with such disrespect by a client. If he's doing this on purpose, what a nasty person he must be. Don't say things like that anymore. It's rude. Cut it out. Susan steps in again to defend me, but Bob just snorts. But it's the truth. Unlike you, I was chosen for the Special Employee Award. Our company has a system where those with excellent performance are recognized at retirement. If you get the award, you receive a larger retirement bonus. Bob was recognized at his retirement, and I remember him boasting loudly about it to everyone on his last day. Sure, I never got promoted, but I didn't envy him for his award. Even if I told him that, he'd probably think I was just being sour. While thinking all this, I quietly closed the door. Each time I visited the department head's family room to explain the tourist spots, Susan was the one who dealt with it. Thank you for all the help you gave my husband until last year. No, we're the ones who should be thanking you. But to be honest, I don't remember being much helped at all. Bob, who had been sulking in silence, seized the opportunity to chime in. That's right, Susan, it was me who took care of him. When this guy started, he couldn't even do the simplest tasks that a kid could do, and I had a tough time training him up to the level of an average. I'd like some appreciation for that. Indeed, when I first joined, I was young and inexperienced, and couldn't do much. But the person who really took the time to train me wasn't Bob, it was another supervisor. It irks me that he claims all the credit as if he alone was responsible, which is a disservice to another supervisor, but I get the feeling that making a scene would only play into his hands, so I bite my tongue. Well, I guess being a regular employee until the end means you weren't the sharpest tool in the shed. Not much schooling with just a high school diploma, huh? I know he just wants to boast. I don't really care about that anymore, but he's speaking so loudly that other guests can hear him. This conversation is not pleasant for anyone to overhear, let alone understand. It might ruin the experience for guests who are here to enjoy their journey. I apologize profusely and leave the room. Then, I get a call from another employee. Catherine is asking for you. Understood. Wondering what it could be, I head to where Catherine is enjoying the breeze on the terrace. Catherine, what can I do for you? Oh, Alex, it's about breakfast tomorrow. Could we have something light? I have a luncheon where I'll be eating a lot. Certainly. How about focaccia and minestrone? That sounds lovely. Lunch is going to be Korean cuisine, so a different taste for breakfast will be nice. Her cultured voice makes me forget about Bob's earlier words. I take a note to inform the kitchen and bow to Catherine once more. As I look up to leave the terrace, I see Susan and her two daughters enjoying the cool air. Look, seagulls. One of the daughters is delightedly pointing at the seagulls flying over. Such a sight is somehow comforting. It's indeed rare to see seagulls here. As I gazed around, it seemed Susan had noticed me. She gave me a warm, friendly smile. Alex, I don't know what kind of work my husband did here, but today's view and service are top-notch. I'm glad to hear that. Please enjoy your day. The best part of the job is making the guests happy. I'm really glad to see Susan and her daughters enjoying themselves. While I'm having this conversation, Bob comes over. Seagulls fly here every day. Nothing special about that. Seeing their father's nitpicking, the daughters shrug and run through the corridor, leaving the terrace. I'm about to leave too when Bob glares at me and I freeze in place. Really, such a beautiful view wasted. Susan sighed. I have something to tell you. What is it? I want to enroll Nikki in a ballet company in France once she graduates middle school. It's been her dream to become a professional, and she's worked so hard for it. We've got an offer from a ballet company, and I want to take advantage of this opportunity for her. Nikki must be the older daughter. Bob looks surprised but then nods. She's already in her second year of middle school and has matured quite a bit. Why not? Nikki is ready to take on the world. Susan turned her gaze to me upon hearing that. Just that means she'd be a high school dropout, but what Nikki is aiming to do is a respectable job, isn't it? Huh? Oh, she's practiced ballet diligently for that, right? Nikki's got an offer from a pro, so even without high school, she could make it work. Better to mix it up with adults while she's young and hold her own. As parents, we could be proud of that. Bob's words made Susan nod and then clear her throat with a little cough. Couldn't the same be said about you, Alex? Huh? You two graduated from middle school and joined this company, and surely worked hard, right? Isn't it the same as Nikki? I was taken aback by her words, finally realizing Susan was defending me. No, Nikki is different, right? She's been practicing ballet every day since elementary. That's not the same as someone who just played around through middle school. Then, Catherine, who had been quietly observing, came forward. "Excuse me, may I have a word?" The two looked surprised at the elegant woman who had interjected. Catherine is a regular since this fiscal year, so Bob wouldn't know her. "And you are just a regular customer who loves this train. I've been overhearing your conversation. May I join in for a moment?" She took out her business card and handed it to Bob. Bob looked at it with obvious suspicion, but Catherine, unbothered by his gaze, began to speak. "I use this train when I can get away from mine. It's been a year, so I've had many talks with Alex." I had no idea where Catherine was going with this. As I listened quietly, her previously calm face became stern. "I'd like you to correct what you said earlier about Alex playing around until middle school. He was diligent in his studies and wanted a career in hospitality but had to work after a fire at home. Even without knowing his past, anyone can see how well he studied hospitality by his service. So your statement is incorrect." Bob was visibly shaken by being directly called out. "I get that you like Alex, but in the end, he was just a regular employee until retirement. Don't compare him to my daughter. Being appreciated by one customer means nothing. Unless you get something like the Special Employee Award, like I did, you can claim to have worked hard." Catherine remained undaunted by Bob's outburst, maintaining her composure. "He's got one, you know." "What? You might not know since you retired last year, but Alex has received an honor even higher than the Special Employee Award, the Honorary Employee Award." At this, Bob began to panic. "What? That can't be. Alex, of all people." "It's true." Bob's loud denial was met with a young crew member's voice from the entrance of the terrace. "Alex has been recognized for his long service and meticulous work, chosen for the Honorary Employee Award, which is given only once every 10 years. Hearing this, Bob started trembling. Catherine smiled at the young crew member and then turned back to Bob. "Still think he hasn't worked hard? Education doesn't matter, effort is effort." "See, Bob, it's clear now. Stop being mean and apologize to Alex." Susan gently stroked Bob's quivering back, but he just shook his head. "Why, Bob, I saw how you've been today. It's not just now. You've always treated Alex like this, haven't you? It might be too late for apologies, but just be honest and say sorry." No. Why should I have to apologize?" But Bob refused to apologize. "It can't be helped then." Susan pulled out a piece of paper from her pocket. "We're getting a divorce. I can't keep living with someone like you. I was going to bring it up after this trip, but I can't bear it anymore." The paper she pulled out was a divorce form. "Don't say that. Don't do this to me." Bob collapsed to his knees, clinging to Susan's feet. "You've always bragged about that Special Employee Award, but it turns out most long-serving employees get it. You never mentioned it, but I knew your colleagues who retired with you got it too, and you bragged so much about it." As Susan started to speak, Bob tried desperately to stop her. "I'll apologize. I'm sorry." Bob stood up, turned to me, and bowed deeply. "I'm sorry for everything I've said." As Susan said, an apology at this point might seem too late. Still, it felt like a bit of the long-standing burden had been lifted. "I've had hard times working here, but also many good ones. I thought today would be the best day, with regular operations and customers who love this train. But seeing Bob and remembering what he's always said made it hard. Why did I have to hear all this on my last day? But now that you've apologized, I feel a bit better. Thank you both very much." I thanked Susan and Catherine, and they nodded contentedly. "By the way, Alex has bought one of my ends, and he'll become the new owner next spring." Catherine spoke with her black hair flowing. At these words, Bob's face went pale. Susan exclaimed in admiration. "You have your next life all planned out, which is wonderful. This man here just sits in front of the TV all day since retirement, and his retirement pay was nothing to speak of, but it doesn't matter to me. I have my savings from when I worked, so I'll be fine after the divorce." Bob looked startled by this revelation. We're not getting divorced now, are we? I apologized. Oh, did I say that? I'm going to live in France with Nikki and Maria. Like I said, money won't be an issue. It was true that just because he apologized didn't mean they weren't getting divorced. Alex, I'm sorry to ask, but can we get another room? I don't want to be in the same room as this man. Jess, I'll arrange it right away. And with that, leaving a completely deflated Bob behind, the couple got separate rooms and left the train at the station the next morning. Despite the upheaval, I ended my last day of work feeling refreshed. Alex, you've worked so hard until now. As I stepped off the train at the station, the other crew members presented me with a bouquet of flowers. I remembered there was no such arrangement when Bob retired. This bouquet is a testament to Alex's meticulous work and the kindness he has shown to all the crew members. We haven't given a bouquet to the former department head, you know. Surprised, a crew member whispered that to me. Holding the bouquet, I felt as if all my efforts had been recognized, and I couldn't help but tear up. Thank you. I'm really glad I was a crew member here. As I move on to run then, I intend to never forget the spirit of hospitality and to make the most of what I've learned as a crew member on the sleeper train.